Hi there, welcome to my No BS Gear Review channel. Immediately after I posted a couple of videos about RMX knives by Work Sharp, here they are, I got questions from my viewers, the kind that I really like. How hard are the blades? And that's what this Rockwell tester is going to tell us. And how well will they take my Hype Smasher test? And we'll find out tonight. Before I film any hardness test, I verify calibration of my tester using this NIST certified calibration block. Here's the certificate. It's serialized to the block, and the hardness on the certificate is 61.99, which is 62 HRC. And here's the explanation of what NIST stands for. Let me get into a little bit of the technicalities behind Rockwell hardness testing. What you see on the screen, I'm placing the block onto the anvil, and then I'm raising the anvil toward the diamond indenter. I stop raising it when the small handle in the middle of the dial reaches the center of the red dot, which created a set depth indentation on the surface. I then release the major weight, which presses the anvil even harder against the indenter. The hydraulic cylinder that is controlling the descent of the major weight is set to 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, I release the lever and get the result. 61.9. This is a very satisfying result. My device is well within calibration. I then lower the anvil to remove the plate. Let the test begin. The first blade on the anvil will be the one from the compact knife, which is made out of M390. This steel is made by Böhler Company of Austria using powdered metallurgy technology. It is considered to be one of the super steels for blade making because of its superb corrosion-resistant properties combined with excellent edge retention. Where it lacks slightly comparing to some other steels is in toughness, but it still exceeds that of the D2 steel. Depending on who makes this steel, it could be called CPM 20CV or 204P. On their website for this blade, Work Sharp advertises hardness of 60 to 62 HRC. And we got 59.5. Let's not get excited yet because I'm going to poke this blade twice more and take the average. If you look at the charts that the manufacturer of this steel posts on their website, you will see that traditionally the steel is heat treated at the lower end of the 60 to 62 range in order to maintain highest toughness. That's that first grayed out region on the graph here, the where resistance or edge retention can be improved at a higher HRC but at a cost of toughness. Our second poke yields 60.5 HRC. Let's do it one more time. I would like to share my impressions after carrying these knives for 3 weeks quite extensively. Would you be surprised if I told you that I ended up using the compact a lot more frequently than the full length? And you can see a little bit of wear in the Cerakote finish at the front of the knife and maybe a scratch from pocket junk that it encountered. In a little while I'll tell you what it was not great at. Meanwhile, the finish on the blade holding up great. And I also like this feature. I can stand either one of these knives without the blade touching the table. Meanwhile, our last result is 60.2 HRC, and the average is 60.1 HRC. Let's continue with a full-length blade, which is made out of one of the toughest steels in the knife making, 3V. I'll come back to the steel in a minute as I bump into the tripod. Sorry about that. The full flat grind combined with the slightly convexed edge produces insanely thin behind the edge thickness. Thin thickness. Is that an oxymoron or what? Anyway, it's about 7 to 10 thousandths of an inch behind the edge. By the way, Work Sharp chose to make the edge convex slightly on both blades, which increases the edge stability. That's a good solution to the problem of edge retention, and I will talk about it at the end of the video. They needed to do it for a good reason. The first hardness result for this blade is 61.2 HRC. Once again, Work Sharp chooses toughness over edge retention. During the Atlanta Blade Show, I interviewed the designer of this blade, Dan Dovell, who actually errs on the side of working the knife hard, hence he prefers toughness over everything else. He also considers himself to be a disciple of Ken Onion, whose knives also follow the same philosophy. During the course of 3 weeks, I only used it as EDC basic functional knife, and I had to touch up the blade with a strop only once. 61.1 HRC on the second poke. This is a bit of a surprise to me because usually 60.5 is the sweet spot for toughness and edge retention. So they are relying on toughness and maximizing edge retention for this particular blade. These two charts developed by Dr. Laren Thomas will give you a pretty good idea on where it lands in toughness and edge retention compared to the other popular non-corrosion resistant steels. Please pause to take a close look and join me in thanking Dr. Thomas for developing those tables. Meanwhile, while you're at it, don't forget to hit a like if you're enjoying this video. 61.2 HRC is my third poke for an average of 61.2. Keep in mind that here I'm testing one of each kind of the blade, which is not an industry standard method for determining the hardness of the batch. I purchased just these two. Yours can be different. If the blade shape of this knife is vaguely familiar to you, don't be surprised. Here's a Civivi Vision FG, and the two knives are basically, or at least the blades are, kind of shadows of one another. They're almost the same length, same thin geometry, same blade shape. Basically, these two knives follow in the footsteps of WE Vision FG that came out around 2022 or 23. Work Sharp were wise to follow in the footsteps of the extremely popular model. After carrying the compact model, due to downsloping leaf-shaped blade and ability to bear down on the belly, it reminds me a lot of Spyderco Chaparral. And the final comparison I wanted to show in this video is this new Work Sharp pocket sharpener that I took home from the Blade Show. Full disclosure, even though I was insisting on paying for it, folks at the Work Sharp booth insisted on me taking it home as a gift because I paid full retail price for this knife, and it was a display sample with hundreds upon hundreds of people playing with it throughout the show. So they sort of, to compensate me, they gave me this. But there is no agreement for me to do a review on it. But it happens to be my favorite out of three. Sorry, I had to say it. Reason I love it, because it's going to do to the pocket sharpener universe what Motorola Razr flipper phone did to the pocket cell phone market. And I actually secretly call it Razr. Hello. You know, it's great to carry on an airplane when you're trying to fill this empty, hollow space in your pocket where a knife usually rides. And the funny part is also the pocket clips are interchangeable. Oh, and I should mention that the selection of sharpening media is perfect, in my opinion. This is 400 grit, and this is a ceramic, very fine ceramic honing side. The only thing I wish they added is a patch of leather right here instead of this grippy surface, which, you know, really you don't really need to grip it this tightly. I wish there was a stropping leather here, and I'm actually considering epoxying one to the device. As you can see, that was an easy decision to make. And now I have all three. So because these are convex ground, they're easy to maintain by hand. For some reason, there is an opinion out there that you need some kind of attachments to the fixed angle sharpeners to do convex grind is the easiest one to maintain because your hand will naturally end up following this contour. You only need fixed angle grinders if you try to change the factory angle or want an absolutely flat mirror polish. So I do most of my quick sharpenings for non-collectible knives, which it is just a work knife. I don't need to have the prettiest looking edge, even though I am getting edges that rival most of the factory edges, even doing it like this. See this flex here? It actually helps me with a convex grind. And on the honing stone, you can actually go back and forth. It really doesn't matter, right? And so now all you have to do is, let me see here. Yeah. That gets me screaming sharp. I will link the tanned leather in the description. And if you're wondering why I removed the pocket clips, is to get it ready for the next test, which is our long-awaited hype smasher. I specifically developed this test to show the world how crappy the plunger-style button locks are. They unlock easily. Meanwhile, I am testing the function for the before condition of this knife. I converted it into manual configuration that took the best part of 2 minutes. And the reason I did that is because when it's in the automatic configuration, it's actually less likely to unlock on a spine strike. So my clamp here emulates human grip in the sense that the knife is resting on the steel rods clad in rubber hose. And this is the 2.5 pound ram that drops down 6 inches, giving us, based on free fall equations, 40 pounds of force when it strikes the blade. That what I'm doing here is making sure how much of a recess the knife has in this channel. So now I check the lock for function. Sometimes it's easier to remove the ram. Press the button, see if the lock still operates. I would stop the test if I notice any kind of failure mode, which I do not detect. So again, adjusting the height from which I'm dropping, making sure I'm still targeting the right area of the blade. Back to the function check. All right. Yep, still working. So third and final strike coming up. Still debating if I should do the small one. Let's see how well I can clamp it. Don't forget to share the link to this video with your social media friends. It really helps the channel when you copy that link. Let's check the function of the knife. No blade play opened up. Rock solid, up and down, side to side, everything is functional. No, I don't detect any rocking in the button there. The blade is centered. Everything is functional just as it should be. Let's see if the compact version of the knife performs as well. And because of its length, it sits a little bit less rigidly in the clamp, which, again, it's realistic because shorter handle in your hand will not have a full advantage of being supported by the heel of your hand. So here we go. Feels just as it would in a tightly gripping hand. Adjusting the arbor position, checking for the recess adjustment. This is strike number 1 for the compact RMX. Let's do a quick lock function check. Looks good. As you recall, I interviewed the designer of this knife, Dan, and he shared some of the videos he shot and even let me include these into the video. I have very little experience with magnesium handled knives because it's probably one of the first out there in the market, if there are any ever before to begin with. And here's the part I was concerned about. Will there be rocking? Because the stop pin is press fit into magnesium. The blade is centered on this one as well. Let's see the function. I detect no degradation in functionality whatsoever. Both knives came through with flying colors. So in the interview, the designer, Dan Dovell, said, "This is not a pry bar or screwdriver, but if you need to use it as a pry bar or a screwdriver, it is a pry bar or screwdriver." And in this experiment, I am testing the theory here. 3V is an extremely elastic steel. That means it's not easily deformed to where it permanently keeps a new shape. I am bending it 15 degrees and I'm looking at no deformation, or let's verify that on the flat block. So I'm holding down the primary grind and trying to feel for any undue rocking in the blade. I see no deformation. I feel or hear no deformation in this blade. Centering is what it was before I started, and no rocking in any direction, so why not put it back in and twist it. This type of loading is called strain, and the strain in this type of loading is immense on all the internal elements of the construction of the knife. But remember, there's only one fastener, and that is holding the pocket clip, and only one pin. Seems like I inadvertently twisted it out of the leather. Nice flat surface on the back of the handle in case you decide to use your RMX as a chisel as well. Notice how the steel deforms in more than one direction. And let's check it out. All right, this one is good to go. Let's check out the compact one. I'm going to accelerate the video here by a factor of 2. Hammer the knife in and do the bending and the twisting tests in sequence, and then check for blade flatness or lack of deformation. This blade is significantly shorter, so I can only exert so much moment on it compared to the long one. And let's check it out. Function check is all good. Functions as it should, or as it was before the test. And let's put it on the block. Here, I kind of feel different. Let me try the other side. I feel like I have a little bit of the rocking in the direction where I was bending it. So potentially I did deform. This is M390 steel. It's less elastic than the 3V. So I'm putting it back in, try to straighten it out. See if that works. You don't want to do it too often because it weakens the steel. But I think because deformation was so minor, and by the way, I'm back to normal here.
I think it's okay to do it once in a lifetime of the blade.